to the back, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It's the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys. I'm going to bring him up in a second, but I do got to put my once a week reminder that our newsletter dropped this morning. All right. And as always, I don't sign you guys up for it just because I have your email address. I want you to want to receive it. So it drops every Wednesday. It's market driven. There's rates in there, fuel prices. It's all geared towards how do we help you in your business. But if you want to register for it, I need you to go to thefreightcoach.com. It'll auto prompt you to fill that out. And again, it's once a week, no more than that, because frankly, I don't know what else people need to hear more than one time a week about what's going on out there and what you need to do. And speaking of all of that, that's going to be our main focus today. A lot of stuff, there's a lot of noise going on market related. It has been for the last 4 years, but frankly, there are some core fundamentals that a lot of people overlook. And we're going to talk about those core fundamentals that keep you moving no matter what is going on. So I have Dave Abell on the show today. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, happy to be here.
No, man, it's great having you on. And, I always enjoy talking to real operators. Like there's no theory in what we're talking about today. You're the CEO of a company, you're out there leading a team, your guys are growing, and our mindsets are very similar of like, we got to find a way to win no matter what, right? Because there's always going to be something. And I think that that's what gets lost in a lot of individuals in the moment. They think like, oh my gosh, there's just this unique problem. It's like, no, there's going to be something. Even when the market's good, there's still issues that you're going to be coming up against. So before we get into any of that stuff though, Dave, how'd you get your start in freight, man? What brought you into this industry?
That's a great question. So I'm from a small town in Southern Illinois. To be honest with you, I always thought I was going to have to leave it to kind of find my dream job, what I was going to do. I joined the National Guard when I was 17, to pay for college. I grew up probably lower middle class. And, I saw everyone kind of out there busting their hump every day. And I was like, man, I don't want to do that. I want an easier job. And so I thought, man, I got to go to college to do that. I had no idea how to pay for it, though.
Yeah.
And so a recruiter came to our high school and said, hey, you do 6 years in the National Guard, you get your college paid for. So that's awesome. I was so green. I didn't even know what the jobs were. They said, what do you want your job to be? I said, don't care. I'm only going to do 6 years and get out. So they signed me up as a combat engineer. I was 2 years in, or was a year into an associate's degree, and our unit got deployed. And so I got a phone call and said, hey, you're going to Iraq for 18-month deployment. I was like, oh man, really? And so yeah, I was a combat engineer. We did IED operations in between Ramadi and Fallujah. And so yeah, I turned 21 in Iraq. I get back from Iraq and finished my bachelor's degree. And then I was like, what do I want to do? My plan was kind of rocked. I always thought I was going to move away. And then one thing led to another. I got a job in a hospital as a network administrator. My undergrad's in IT. I got an MBA as well. And I hated working in the hospital. I had too many bosses. The doctors are your boss. The nurses, your bosses, and so AM Transport, I got hooked up with them. And at the time, this is late 2010, they needed somebody to just do IT stuff.
Yep.
And so I got my start. I just ask a lot of questions, sometimes to my detriment, but I'm just a curious person. And so it was like, helping carrier reps of, well, why are you doing it this way? Why do we do that? Why don't you do this? And so I kind of worked myself up and around. I did sales, did operations, did a little bit of everything. And then actually during COVID, a lot of crazy things happened, and so I took over the company as a CEO in 2021, and so I've been the CEO ever since.
Your story is so relatable to mine in the growing up in a small town and the opportunities they seem very limited, right? Like no matter what. And that's kind of how it was for a lot of guys that I went to high school with. Because Iraq was just popping off when I was a senior. And it was like a large percentage of the guys I went to high school with just joined the military because it's military or farming where I'm from. And those are the two main industries, and a very small percentage of people end up going off to college. And if they do, most don't even make it through college, right? Like they drop out, they come back home and, again, and then they kind of have that feeling. That's what I love the most about trucking though, as a whole, because I think it's that pathway as the entire industry. It's that pathway to a middle-class living. I mean, you can make good money living in a small town and, and that's what a lot of people want, right? They want that stability. And the thing that I think no matter what, transportation is the most stable industry to be involved in because let's be honest, if things stop moving, we're done as a country. So it doesn't matter at that point. And, from my perspective, it's I think this is such a great pathway for a lot of individuals to get into, as whether it's a business owner or just as an operator.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned, over my 16-year career now is there's so many nuances, right, in brokerage and trucking, and that's what I love. That's what keeps me curious. That's what keeps me, no 2 days are the same because there are so many nuances of that. You're not only, you're dealing with the trucking companies. I mean, our bread and butter is owner operators, right? Like that's the value we want to bring is we want to be the best broker to work with for small trucking companies, 20 trucks or less, 5 trucks or less. And we want to be just so easy to work with, so personable, so relationship, but also our customers, right? We want the $100 million customer as well. We want to be relatable, have everything that we need to be able to fulfill those folks as well. And no, I love that, exactly what you said. And I think it comes down to that victim, mindset,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And where you don't have to do that, right? And so if you break out of that, and a lot of folks in a small town have that, it's, oh man, we're stuck here. This place sucks. We don't have a mall. We don't have, there's nothing to do. There's no jobs. And it's you could have that, or you could have the mindset of I want to be here. Here's the positives of why I'm here. And then, yeah, we fall short on a couple areas, but what can I do to help fix that piece of it?
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, that's about as best as I've ever heard it summarized. It is that, but I look at it as dude, that's the mindset I think with a lot of individuals out there, right? Unless it's handed to them in the easy, they think that there's no opportunities that are out there. And it's a perfect segue into our topic about navigating what's going on out there, because from my perspective, you need to I guess, my mentality, Dave, is pretty simple. I made a deal with myself when I went into business for myself that I was going to find a way to make this work no matter what. I don't care. That is always my mentality. I don't care what the pundits say. I don't care what the data people say. I don't care what the economy is. I am going to find a way to win because I got a family to feed. And when I'm self-employed, I don't have a backup, So it's I think that's where your mentality has to be is there are opportunities that are out there. Are some markets more plentiful than others? Yes, but there is never a shortage of quality providers. And I want that to be everybody's kind of main focal point. How do you actually stand out in a crowd? And obviously we've known each other for a while now, and you were posting earlier this year about a cold call challenge and everything. And that's what piqued my interest because I'm a cold call guy, right? I would rather be told no on the phone than email somebody for 16 straight months and then not get a response out of them.
And yeah, no, it's so I think what really struck me was during COVID, we're which most businesses, we're all scared and we're
Yeah.
what's going on? And so we started really thinking strategically and said, what are we going to do to make it through this? And it was okay, we need to, get lean, increase sales activity, we rattled off 4 or 5 things. And it's well, wait a minute, shouldn't we be doing that all the time? And that's what really kind of struck me was good businesses, you should be doing that stuff all the time, whether you're in, a carrier market or shipper market or wherever you're in. And so that's really kind of the flag I try to fly is like, it's all about consistency. It's all about the discipline. What you talked about with the dialed hard challenge. So AM Transport, this year we've been in business 36 years.
Yeah.
And we got started by a guy, Avery McKinney. He had, two nickels to rub together to put in a payphone and a Cadillac. And he would just go out knocking on dock doors, just talking to folks. And so then that evolved, into cold calling. And I'm still a firm believer that cold calling works, right? You get business with that. And I know there's, the Apple has new, spam techniques, and I get all that, but a lot of times I think that stuff's excuses. And so really what kind of prompted my deal, we're very fortunate, where we're part of a really good company.
Mhm.
And I think that's purposeful, right? We put in a lot of hard work with that. But like anything, like I'm a believer that you're either growing or you're dying. There's no status quo, right? That doesn't exist. And so I definitely don't want to be dying. And so we got to be growing. And part of that is new customer acquisition. And we got to a point last year, where it was like I started really kind of questioning our sales engine.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, we need to probably bring in a new salesperson and get them trained up. And I was like, well, wait a minute, like, how am I going to train them? I'm going to give them a book to read. I'm going to give them dated material or whatever. And so, through my kind of talking myself through this, I was like, we need to update our sales process, and we don't have anybody to do it. Everyone else is busy covering freight, and so it's like I'm the guy here. Like I need to step up and do this, and I don't want to talk about a lot of theoretical academic stuff that might work in SaaS. I'm talking about stuff that works in freight.
Mhm.
And so, kind of long story short, I was like, I just need to get my hands dirty and do the work. And so that's where I set a challenge for myself: 20 dials a day for 90 days. And I've learned a lot through it, right? Like you learn, who you're calling, your prospects, you learn your systems, you learn your script, you learn what to do with them, you learn the follow up. And so then my plan is, when I feel like I'm in a good spot with this, that's when I'm ready to hire, is when I
Yeah.
can bring somebody in and I say, look, this works. Don't get lost on, which CRM's the best. Don't get lost on which dialer and which headset. I've got all this stuff for you. All I need you to do is do the work.
Yeah, I got a lot to unpack with this here, Dave, because like for me, like we're so aligned, man. Like we are so aligned, and I'm actually going to be releasing an episode next week about the process that I have personally followed to build our business up to a annual 7-figure book of business. I'm going to just lay it all out there because like this is just what has worked for me. And I think that, there's a saying out there, I never quoted this, but it's like, I think most people overlook the power of being consistently good over occasionally great. And, for me, I am always about like, I would rather have a rep actually make 30 calls a day over 60 one day, 10 the next, 30 the next. Like that will throw you off your trajectory more than not, because most people only want to do a job when it's convenient and it's easy, but it's like building up those habits of consistently showing up, building up that system, because like this is something, I said we're aligned because like this is something I spent the Q4 on and have really hit the ground running with in Q1 inside of my company, because like we were making outreach, but we were very scattered in our outreach because fortunately we grew last year. And I'm not saying that as an excuse, but that was our excuse to, hey, we can't make all of our calls today because like we got freight. And again, yeah, you have revenue, you got to take care of it. But then you eventually hit that wall where you're like, hey, we slowed down. What's going on? Where's our new business at? And then, so me and my business partner, we really just split roles where he does all ops, quoting, everything, books, trucks. I am solely focused on business development until it gets to that point where it's like, hey, we got 7 loads we got to cover. Can you jump in and take some inbounds and then jump back off? So we got very disciplined in our approach and we split that up. We implemented a CRM, which I have mentioned numerous times on how wrong I was on that. that is the best money any business, let alone a small business, can invest in, because we were so scattered in our outreach. And then since onboarding with our CRM, we personally use Sales Dash. Since doing that, I have completely streamlined our sales process. I have actually 6 companies that are like real prospects, not companies I'm calling, established relationships with the decision makers. I know exactly what their freight mix is looking like this year. I know when their buying windows are. And I've done all of that because we got organized, because like we took 2 steps back to take 1 step forward. And now we're hitting the ground running, right? Like I make 30 calls every single day without fail. That is my number. That is the number I have identified that I can reach every single day while doing all of my other tasks. And I think that is, to some people are like, oh, that's not that many calls. I will crush you in the long term because you're not making 90 calls every single day. I've never met or spoke to a leader inside of transportation that is overly satisfied with their sales team because they hit their call numbers every single day. On the inverse, they never hit their sales numbers ever.
Yeah, no, there's so much stuff you talked about there. I'll be honest with you, we use Revenova. I know they're a sponsor of your show, and
I use them as well, though.
yeah, we use them for our TMS, and so it's just natural for us to use Salesforce alongside that. Salesforce is a behemoth, though, right? And so you can get lost in that. One tip I always say, I heard this a long time ago, and I really believe in this, is I could lock you in a closet, right? I could lock you in an office, give you a cell phone and a phone book, and you should be able to get freight, right? If you spend 40 hours with a cell phone and a phone book, you should be able to get some freight out of that. And so these tools should help you get more freight, not less freight. And I think so many people get caught up in that of like, oh my gosh, I gotta get my list right. I gotta get my views right. I gotta get my, my auto dialer and all this stuff. And it's like, guys, you're overcomplicating this. Is just do the damn work at the end of the day.
Yeah, I literally have my cell phone. That's it, man. I call everything off of my cell phone. And I think like critical pieces of technology that you need when you're starting your book of business or you're starting your business as a freight broker, you need a TMS, lead gen software, load boards. That's it. That is the extent, because otherwise you're doing death by process, in my opinion, because it's like, oh, I need to do this. No, I need to do that. No, you don't. You literally just need to have the company's website up, and you need to call them and ask them an actual exploratory question about their freight in regards to their product. And that is where a lot of people will overstep that, right? Because they're like, they don't understand where they're at in the sales process. They think that they have to go in for the kill shot right away. On the contrary, I'm all about the long game. I want people to remember me, and I want my brand to be associated with quality and subject matter expert. That's what I want in the long term, because like no matter what, even in a good freight market where they are looking for new providers, they're not onboarding you after the first 30 seconds you talk to them. They are still good. And that's where I think navigating this current market, and again, you can tell everybody whose opinion on social media right now is not actively moving freight, because here's the reality. Every shipper in North America is going to be good in 2026 with their current providers. They are not going to be shaking up at the level that some people are wanting to say. How do I know that? I actually call shippers. Okay. So like I actually have conversations with them. Could that change? Yes. But to sit here and definitively say one direction or another, you are telling a very clear story that you have not actually talked to a shipper from a broker's perspective in a very long time.
Yeah, it's so interesting for me because I'm the CEO of the company, and we're not huge, but I just have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so I try to time block my calls, right? I want to do the same time every day, but that doesn't always happen. But I want to get my calls in. And so but it's this like, I don't know, it's this quagmire of sorts, because I'm not just some new rep that's calling to hit their quota, to get their numbers in. I'm not calling, time and temp or whatever. And so like I actually want to like get freight out of this, or like care about this. And so it's this but one of the things that's so freeing to me is when you hear a no, right? Cool. All good. perfect. Thank you for letting me know. And I mean that with
Mhm.
sincerity, because it's like, our TAM, our total addressable market, is 5 million shippers that we could work with. And so by you telling me no right there, that you're all customer routed, you never work with brokers, whatever the objection is, you just save me a lot of time. And I appreciate that. And I think that's where a lot of new reps lose it, where they just try to sell and sell and sell. I read this in a sales book a long time ago, where if you ever go to a doctor, right, and you go sit down, and the doctor's like, "Oh, Mr. Abel, how you doing today? Hey, I got this prescription for you. This hydrocodone is gonna make you feel better. Here you go. Go get this thing filled." You're gonna be like, "What the heck is this guy talking about?" Well, it's the
Mhm.
same way with sales, right? We do that with freight way too much. Of hey, we operate in 48 states and we're the best, truckload dry van provider, blah, blah, blah. You didn't even talk to them. You don't even know what they're looking for. And here
Right.
you are offering them a prescription already.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I look at it as everybody has a finite amount of reps they can get in a day. The faster I can get to a yes or a no, the better off I'm going to be, because then I can backfill that with a potential at that point. And it's like I mean I am very dialed in our approach on who, like, I know the companies that I'm calling in the event they answer the phone. I know what they're shipping. I've done that legwork already to build that up. But I also am like, if they're not, they're good with their current network, perfect. Thank you so much. When's your buying window open? We're not going to look at anything until 2027. Even better. Now I don't have to call that one number a day. Every couple of weeks or whatever your cadence look like, and then get a non-answer. And then that is actually costing you the potential to onboard somebody who is looking. So it's like, I know the no bruises the ego. It bruises my ego. In my opinion, I'm the best freight broker in North America. And I say that with 100% confidence, but I'm not going to be able to close anyone and everybody that I talk to. And I understand that I got to open myself up to the fact that the faster I can get to the end of a call, whether it's a yes or a no, or call me back in 3 months, that just opened up a spot on my roster of a company that I could potentially get onboarded with and, eventually move freight with. But again, I think most reps, most individuals, they hit that first wall, Dave, of rejection. And then they just give up. They're like, nobody's adding anybody. Now all of the excuses, oh, I was on LinkedIn and this guy called the freight coach said this one thing out there, so that's got to be true, right? And that's just the decision making that a lot of individuals had to go with.
Well, and they don't. I heard this quote: the greenbacks are in the circle backs,
Yeah.
right? And you got to follow up, and you just and for me, it's I'll identify companies that I'm like, there is no reason why we shouldn't work together, either
Mhm.
based on geography, based on their lanes are, and so it's just kind of this like laser focus on like it's not it, it's not how, it's when, right? Like that's what we got to figure out here. Of like, yeah, we're not going to work together today or tomorrow, but we got to figure out when we're going to work together, because there's no reason we shouldn't.
No, I agree. My thing is like understanding where I'm at in the sales process is like when I'm calling a company for the first time, if I've talked to the gatekeeper but never talked to the decision maker, that's a completely different sale, right? So it's like I'm going in there. And again, I'm just like, what is one piece of critical information that I need from this phone call? If I get the decision maker on the phone, it's a 100% we use flatbed, or a 100% we ship full truckload. And that is like the piece of information I'm going with, because they're going to be good right now. They're not going to trust me because I sound good in 10 seconds. And it is that follow-up procedure. Here's a live example of what happened today. I talked to this company located out of Pennsylvania in October. I talked to the decision maker. She said, we're good right now. We're not making any changes to our network, but you can call me back early 2026. So now it's early 2026. I called her this morning. I talked to her. I got her back on the phone. Hey, we're still good right now. We're not adding anybody. But like I told you, we changed our network in July. Little did I check my notes. She never told me that. Now I know July is the follow-up window. And I said, hey, do you guys make your decision for the month of July? So June. She said, actually, it's August is when we do a rollout. Call us back mid-July. Boom. That just saved me a bunch of time. I got the decision maker's name. I got the verification that they ship the flatbeds, open deck, hot shots, everything. And their buying window opens up mid-July. Perfect. Now I have that all uploaded in my CRM. I'm not going to call them next week. I'm not going to waste that roster spot. That is already scheduled in my CRM for July 22nd, I think is when I put it in
Yeah,
there.
and I mean, you got to have the right mindset going into it, right? Like I know that I'm the new guy, right? And I gotta kind of earn my chops here with this customer. And so I'm probably gonna get the last minute, crappy freight that they're having trouble with. And so I get that, I understand that, I'm prepared for that. And so I just want to make it as easy as possible for them to help me help them be the hero, right? Like that's what I want is when you get dropped on this, it's last second, then yeah, I can help you out with this, but does that earn me that next thing, right? I get it. I got to earn my stripes here, and I'm willing to do that. We have to talk about that.
When did that all come together for you, do you think, Dave?
I I think that people are I think you're remiss if you're not talking to your customers, right? And I think, for me several years ago, like that kind of clicked with me of like, I get it, like, their customer service rep, maybe this person or that person, but like as a CEO, like I got to own these relationships because I do, I take full accountability for this stuff. The Jocko mindset, right? Where it is, it's all on me. If my reps do good, great. If my reps do bad, it's my fault. And so I need to own these conversations, I need to own these relationships. And so once you get to know these people, you start talking to these people. They're not shippers, right? They're people. And so you start talking to these people and their problems. I ask that question all the time to current customers. What would it take for you to leave us? Like, because I know you just got to know they're getting cold calls, right? I'm out there grinding it out, trying to take somebody else's customers. Well, I know people are trying to take my customers at the same time, and so it's this. Are you happy? Is there anything we can be doing better? And I feel like a lot of times people don't ask those questions because they're scared of what they're going to hear.
Yeah. I look at it as a business owner and a leader as well, Dave. I want to be told what we're doing wrong. I know what we're doing right. That's why we're getting them to come back to us time and time again with more freight. Because trust me, if you're doing something wrong and it's very, very glaring, the freight goes away. So it's like for me, when I meet with my customers, when I sit down with them on everything, I want to know where we can improve because yeah, I know my customer, just like you said, every single one of our customers is somebody's top prospect, just like all of my top prospects are somebody's current customers. So it's like, how do I build that wall, that insulation around ourselves to where it's like, hey, I know we're going to mess up, right? Like we're human beings, but how can we make that look like a positive? Like what does that look like? Where can we improve? But you're right. Most people don't want to hear that, Dave, because they want to hide behind, they want to shelter themselves where it's like, I have taken, and again, these aren't easy conversations for me to have either, right? But I would rather know like, hey, this is where we think you guys can improve upon. Perfect. I can take that. I can make that decision. I can take that feedback. What I can't ever take is losing a customer and then finding out it was something that we were doing or not doing. And then we should have fixed it sooner.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. One of the things I learned a long time ago too is you can't be everything to everybody, right? And so you gotta figure that out. In some companies, it's flatbed or it's a commodity or it's a location or something. I think for us, it's the mindset of the customer, right? If like we do exceptionally well with a certain kind of person. The problem is those aren't filters you can put in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? You just got to get to know them to understand that. What do they value? What do you have in common? What do you like? People buy from people is what I really. And so yeah, we sometimes we invest time in the wrong people, but that's okay, right? But I think more often than not that we invest time in people and it pays off.
Yeah, I agree, man. Thank you so much. Whether you want it or not, you're coming back on because we got to continue to talk about this stuff, man. Because like we seem very aligned, Dave, in the sense of like no matter what, we got to find a way to win. It doesn't matter what's going on in the market. We're going to find a way. And these fundamentals that you're talking about and we're discussing today is what I've just applied over the entirety of my career, and it's worked. But how does anybody reach out to you if you guys are hiring? Put all that stuff out there, man.
Yeah. So I one quick plug. So I am on the TA board, the Transportation Intermediaries Association. And so we're creating this new course. And so I'm actually instructor of a course on ethical brokering with Mike
Nice.
Riccio. And so the whole thing with this course, the TIA, we put out the CTV exam, 30 years ago, and it's a great course. Encourage everyone to do it, but there's nothing for the next, what's next out of that. And so we've heard from all these companies that have, maybe the next generation of leaders, or they have somebody who really good at slinging freight, but they want to promote them, but there's just not a lot of training out there. And so the CTV is offering, or the TIA is offering this course called the Freight Leadership Lab. Really good deal. It kicks off at the Capital Ideas Conference this year in Phoenix. So that's when the cohort, you can sign up now. The cohort will get together in Phoenix together. The first module will be there. And then it'll be monthly from then on out, where you get together virtually to go over these topics with real industry professionals, like myself. We talk about real stuff that will help a broker on the ground. And then you'll finish it out at Technovations. You'll be in together at Technovations to do your capstone project. And so 2 real things that I think would be just super good for everyone to get out of this is, one, you're going to hear from people, like myself, that are actually doing it, right? We're getting our hands dirty. And so we're in your network now, right? Reach out to me if you have questions about it. The other one is you build these groups, right? We're looking to have 10 to 15 folks in each one of these groups, to where now you have contacts at all these other brokerages. And I can't tell you how important that is and how instrumental that's been in my career, because things happen, right? Weird claims, weird double broker, weird instances. Well, yeah, you could post it on LinkedIn to a bunch of strangers, or you could text, 10 of your closest groups, 10 of your, fellow freight brokers that have been there, and say, hey, have you guys experienced anything like this in the past? And now you have this personalized support program. And so we're creating that for you with this. And then actually, since this is the inaugural one, we're running a special. If you sign up for this class, you actually get your registration to the Capital Ideas Conference comped for this one. So super good deal.
No, that's a great deal. And I can personally attest to the power of the TIA. And, there, and that group that you're talking about, that group think, there was, I meet up frequently with, leaders inside of the industry. And, we had a group text, and a guy came up with, hey, I have this going on. Who do I talk to? Boom. Somebody jumped in instantly. You need to talk to this person at this company. They helped us with this exact same situation. We got it resolved. Boom, done. And it was like 30 seconds. And it was instant, with people that are like verifiable, been there, done that, as opposed to somebody's opinion on social media who may have never actually experienced that. So I appreciate that, man. And Dave, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, we'll have you back on, but that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.